Welcome, everyone. We're diving deep into FairyFrens today. This time it's a multi-part series, so get ready because we're going to be exploring the clans of Lumiin. You know, that magical realm inside the planet Lies. And up first, we've got the Fairy Guard. They're the protectors of Queen Fae and, well, all of Lumiin.
The Fairy Guard's a really interesting clan, super secretive, and they're known for being incredibly loyal. Their story kind of gets to the heart of what balance even means, in a realm where magic and the unexpected are everywhere.
Lumiin is just bursting with energy, and I get this time there isn't linear. Like, what if yesterday happened after tomorrow? Can you imagine trying to plan anything?
Maybe not quite that chaotic. But you're right, that nonlinear time is a huge deal. It's not just some weird quirk. It totally changes how the Fairy Guard do their job. They can't rely on, the usual strategies or thinking in a straight line.
So they're not just warriors, they're like time travelers playing 4D chess or something.
Yeah, exactly. They have to be super adaptable, able to think about all sorts of possibilities, and be ready when things suddenly shift, which happens all the time in Lumiin.
Wow. And their home, Seline, it sounds beautiful, like something out of a fairy tale. Rolling hills, crystal clear lakes.
It seems peaceful, but that just hides how ready they always are. Seline isn't just some pretty place to relax. It's where the Fairy Guard gets strong. They practice their skills, both physical and mental.
I bet even those peaceful lakes are part of their training. Maybe they practice fighting underwater or, I don't know, meditating to sense changes in time.
That's a really interesting thought. It could be like they're training even when it looks like they're just chilling by the lake. And you're right about the mental part. The Fairy Guard are known for being really smart and strategic.
What makes them so focused on thinking and strategy?
Well, they keep their way secret, obviously, but we do know they think strategy, problem solving, and spotting patterns are super important. I mean, they're protecting Lumiin from threats we can barely understand, like sorcerers messing with ley lines or creatures that jump between time. You need more than just muscles for that.
So they're like warrior scholars, putting together knowledge from all these different areas. That's pretty awesome. And Sunni Guard is their leader, right? What's he like?
Sunni Guard, he's a bit of a mystery. We know he's super respected and that he represents the clan's dedication to unity, to everyone working together. He also amazingly good at seeing threats before they even happen. Some even say he's got a bit of a prophetic ability, but who knows? Those are just rumors.
So we have a secretive clan full of smart warriors, a leader who might be able to see the future, and they all live in a place where time flows like a crazy river. No pressure there, right? But really, why are they so important to keeping Lumiin safe? What dangers are they protecting against?
That's a really good question, and there's a lot to it. Obviously, they're Queen Fae's personal guard, and they're in charge of keeping all of Lumiin safe. But it's more than that, too. They're like guardians of balance. They protect the harmony between magic and nature, and even time and destiny. You could think of them as the ones making sure Lumiin doesn't fall into chaos.
It makes me think about those ley lines, those magical pathways that connect everything in Lumiin. I bet the Fairy Guard protects those too, right? Because those ley lines seem pretty vulnerable. Like, what if a rogue sorceress, decided to mess with them?
You're totally on the right track there. We'll be talking more about the ley lines and the dangers to them later on in the series. But you've got the right idea. The Fairy Guard and the Grid, that network of ley lines, are super connected. Maybe they have a role that's even bigger than we know, a deeper link to the magic that keeps Lumiin alive.
Oh, that's a really good point. It's like we're just starting to see past the surface. The pretty landscapes, the peaceful protectors. There's going to be a lot more to discover. But before we go on, can you tell us more about those ley lines? You said they're pathways of magic, but how do they actually work?
Ley lines are kind of like channels for raw magic energy. That energy flows from the heart of Lumiin, the great tree. And they're not just, a metaphor. They're real. You can feel the energy pulsing. And that energy is used for, well, everything, from powering spells to just keeping things alive.
So they're like Lumiin's arteries and veins, carrying this magic lifeblood everywhere. That makes them super important, right? And we know that some people are like, oh, that sorcerer's Panoline, they've tried to mess with the ley lines and it caused a ton of trouble.
Yeah, exactly. That's why what the Fairy Guard does is so important. They're not just protecting places, they're protecting the essence of Lumiin itself. And maybe, just maybe, their understanding of the ley lines is one of the ways they keep that balance.
This is getting interesting. We've got the Fairy Guard, these protectors of balance and unity. And they live in a world where time is fluid and magic flows through this network of ley lines. It makes you wonder, what kind of training do they go through? What kind of knowledge do they have to handle all of that?
That's something we'll keep exploring as we go deeper into FairyFrens. But for now, just remember this. In those quiet landscapes of Seline, there's a power that's both subtle and really, really strong. The Fairy Guard are all about quiet strength, total loyalty, and a watchfulness that goes way beyond the physical world. It really makes you think, how the fairy guard's connection to Lumiin, especially those ley lines, might affect how they see time. Like, we think of time as a straight line, but in a place where magic is everywhere, maybe their experience of time is totally different, more fluid, more connected.
I'm trying to picture that. So instead of seeing past, present, and future as separate things, it's like they see it all at once, like a swirling tapestry with all these threads woven together.
Yes, exactly. Think about being able to sense what happened in the past, right here in the present, or to see how actions now could ripple into the future. That kind of awareness would be so powerful, especially for someone protecting a realm as unpredictable as Lumiin.
That would explain why they keep their methods so secret. If you experience time in a way most people can't even grasp, you probably wouldn't want to go around explaining it to everyone.
Right. Sharing that knowledge could be really dangerous, especially with the wrong people. Like, imagine giving someone a map of all the back roads and shortcuts through time. Who knows what could happen? It could mess up the flow of time itself.
Whoa. Okay, now I'm getting chills thinking about that. But let's go back to Seline for a minute. We know the Fairy Guard trains there, but what does that actually look like? Is it all sword fights and magic duels?
I'm sure they train to fight, of course, but I bet it's a lot more complicated than that. They probably have exercises that help them sense those time anomalies, teach them how to predict changes in time, maybe even how to change it in small ways.
Hold on, time manipulation. Now that's some seriously powerful magic. Wouldn't that be super dangerous? I mean, messing with time seems like it could really backfire.
Oh, for sure. Which is why I think those abilities would be top secret, used only in extreme situations. It's like a surgeon with a scalpel. The right person can use it to heal, but in the wrong hands, it could cause a lot of damage.
So the Fairy Guard aren't just protectors. They're like time surgeons, carefully making sure time itself stays balanced. That's a huge responsibility.
You're right. It's a massive responsibility. And remember, they're not just dealing with these, theoretical time things. They also have to worry about more normal threats, like people who want to use Lumin's magic for themselves.
Right, we were talking about Panowin earlier, that sorceress messing with the ley lines. I bet that's the kind of thing that would keep the Fairy Guard pretty busy.
Absolutely. What Panowin's doing, it's like attacking the very heart of Lumiin. When she messes with the flow of magic through that ore grid, she's not just causing chaos in one spot, she's threatening the balance of the whole realm.
So the Fairy Guard aren't just dealing with abstract ideas about time and balance. They're facing real dangers that could hurt everyone in Lumin.
Exactly. Their job is both kind of behind the scenes and super important. They're protecting a world that exists where time and magic meet, where the past can shape the future, and the decisions we make now, they echo forever.
It makes their loyalty to Queen Fae and to each other even more important. If they weren't united, if their loyalty wavered, the whole realm could fall apart.
Exactly. They're strong because they're united. They have the shared purpose, and that acts as a shield against anything that wants to divide them and take over. And at the center of that unity, you have Sunni Guard. His wisdom and his ability to see what's coming are so important for navigating all these dangers.
It all comes back to balance, doesn't it? The Fairy Guard, with their understanding of time, their knowledge of magic, their unwavering loyalty, they're holding everything together.
And as we keep exploring the clans of Lumiin, remember that the Fairy Guard's story is just one part of this big, amazing picture. Each clan has its own role, its own strengths and weaknesses. But the Fairy Guard, with their quiet strength and deep connection to Lumiin, they hold a really special place.
This is so cool. We started with rolling hills and peaceful lakes, and now we're talking about time anomalies, rogue sorceresses, and a leader who might be able to see the future. What else is hidden in Seline and in the hearts of these mysterious guardians?
Those are questions we'll keep thinking about as we go deeper into this incredible world. But for now, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about another key element of Lumiin, the ore grid, that network of ley lines that sustains everything in this magical realm.
All right, so we've talked about these ley lines, these pathways of magic, all over Lumiin. Let's really break down what this ore grid is and why it's so important to the realm. This sounds like way more than just some pretty lights.
Oh, definitely. The ore grid, it's not just something pretty to look at. It's like the lifeblood of Lumiin. Remember that energy we talked about, all that vibrant energy? Well, it all starts at the Great Tree. Then it flows through the ore grid, connecting everything.
So it's like a power grid, but also like a circulatory system, all one. And this energy, it doesn't just power spells, right? It keeps everything in Lumiin alive.
Exactly. The ore grid affects everything, how plants grow, how time flows, even the magic itself. If you mess up the ore grid, you mess up the balance of the whole realm.
That's why it's such a big deal that someone like Panowin's trying to mess with it. It's not just some harmless prank. It's like eco-terrorism or something.
That's a good way to put it. It shows how vital the Fairy Guard's role is. They're not just protecting the queen or certain spots. They're protecting the ore grid, the source of Lumiin's, well, its life force.
How do they even do that? We're talking about this huge network of magical energy covering a whole realm. Do they have like ley line patrols or something?
That's where their understanding of time and magic comes in. You remember how we talked about them maybe sensing time anomalies, predicting how the energy flows? Well, imagine using that to watch over the ore grid. Maybe they can sense tiny changes or find weak spots. They might even know where Panawin will strike next.
That's wild. So they're like magical EMTs rushing to fix rips in reality. But if the ore grid is so important, why can anyone mess with it in the first place? Shouldn't it have some kind of protection?
That's a really interesting question. It goes back to Lumiin's whole philosophy. This is a realm that's all about balance, not total control. The ore grid is a force of nature. And like anything in nature, it has weaknesses.
So it's like you can't totally control the weather, right? You can just try to predict it and adapt. And the Fairy Guard, they're connected to Lumiin's magic. So they've learned to see the signs, to sense when the energy's going to shift.
Exactly. And they don't just rely on individual skills. It's about their unity, their shared goal. That dedication to Queen Fae and to Lumiin, they show us that real strength can come from these subtle forces all working together.
So for everyone listening, why should we care about the Fairy Guard? The ore grid, this whole idea of magical balance.
It speaks to something that's true everywhere. We all live within systems, right? Ecological systems, social systems, political systems. And those systems, they all need balance to survive. The Fairy Guard, their story shows us that protecting those systems, it takes watchfulness, it takes adaptability, and it takes working together. It's about understanding that even small actions can have big effects, and that real strength comes from seeing how everything's connected.
Well, we've gone deep into the world of FairyFrens today, uncovering the secrets of the Fairy Guard, their home in Seline. So peaceful on the surface, but with so much power underneath. And we talked about the ore grid, that lifeblood of Lumiin, and how the Fairy Guard protects it.
As you keep exploring this amazing world, think about this. What other hidden forces are out there, shaping the lives of the characters, even the fate of whole realms? And how do the choices that individuals make, or clans, or even civilizations, how do those choices affect that balance of power and magic in Lumiin?
Keep those questions in mind, everyone, and join us next time when we'll dive into another fascinating clan from the world of FairyFrens.